Welcome to the Lowcountry Revolutionaries, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of Charleston, South Carolina's vibrant entrepreneurial scene. I'm your host, Bill Bellott, founder of Veritas Exoscience, and each week we're spotlighting the boldest innovators from the Chucktown startup community. These are the visionaries pouring their heart and soul into the businesses that are transferring Charleston into a global hub of creativity and American ingenuity. Get ready for raw, real conversations with the trailblazers shaping our city's future. Let's dive in. I would like to welcome Natasha Walstra. Natasha is a LinkedIn strategist and business coach who teaches entrepreneurs and executives how to turn visibility into revenue without resorting to sleazy sales tactics or cold outreach. She is the founder of Nearpoint Strategies and the creator of the Relationship Growth Method. Welcome, Natasha. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for having me, Bill.
Oh, I'm happy to have you. So I am super interested about what you're doing, especially since you're using like LinkedIn, since that's what most of the businesses here in the Lowcountry use. So tell me all about this. What's going on?
Of course, I love to geek out about this, as you can imagine. Yes, it's going to sound a little crazy, but I am the LinkedIn lady who's on LinkedIn to get off of LinkedIn and build real relationships, which turn into real business opportunities. So I'm all about how do you use it to build connection, right? And actually turn that into relationships. It's not about being a content creator, an influencer. That sounds miserable to me. I don't know about you, but I think that's the last thing I want to do. But I'm a business owner leveraging content to grow my business.
Right.
And it's a much different approach, and it's a really different way of showing up on there, but it's empowering, it's sustainable, because I know y'all are busy, and it's profitable.
That's cool. Those sound like good things. So, the question everybody's going to have, so how do you do that? It's like, okay, how's, the sort of question people are asking is like, so how's LinkedIn different than Facebook or any other platform? And how do you go from, hey, I made a connection with somebody to actually having a real conversation that drives business? How does that happen?
I wish it was just like this one thing I could tell you. It is, once you figure it out, it actually is quite simple, because what we're trying to do on LinkedIn is amplify what you already do in real life. Like, how do you build relationships with people in real life?
Right.
Let's figure out the digital version of that. So what that looks like on LinkedIn, it's your profile, it's your content, it's the conversations you're having behind the scenes, right? It's that sort of those three parts to it really that make this basically like a relationship-driven business development flywheel where opportunities are constantly happening.
Right.
But it's genuine, right? It's real. And like I said, I don't do any cold outreach. It's all about creating signals of intent and then acting on those signals of intent. And so then, yeah,
that's really cool. How do you create like the right signal? Because what I hear is like you're creating something that people actually respond to. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because what do people respond to in real life? It's stories. It's right. What you actually talk about. And so what you're trying to do on LinkedIn, one, is bring more of your essence to your presence on LinkedIn, right? Like, how can you be more you on there?
Right.
And what do you talk about? What have you been doing? Look at your calendar. What did you do yesterday, the day before, last week, 2 years ago? Talk about that stuff, because one, also it's AI proof, which is great.
Right.
But also that's what people want to hear.
So we're not talking like food pictures like, hey, I had cake today. It's something more than that, right?
Of course. You had a call with a prospect or a client yesterday. What questions were asked? What problems were solved?
Yeah.
Right. Simple things like that. What were you talking about with your colleagues on a podcast?
Oh, yeah.
It was a great question that they asked. Use that as inspiration for content. Literally every single one of my posts comes from a conversation I had the day before, or, at some point recently, or not, or maybe it was 5 to 10 years ago.
Right. And that works, and that connects with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's real. And that's what people are craving so much right now, because there's so much AI crap out there, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So what stands out is the real stuff.
Yeah, and I am so tempted to get on my little stump about that, but I am not going to, because this is about your story and the stove. But I am totally down with this, because this is one of the reasons I do this podcast, and the way we do it is this is all real. There's no AI co-host. We don't even do any AI editing, or I don't do any AI editing. So it's got bumps and bruises, and it is what it is. So how did people, to me, is sometimes, especially in this day and age, how can you be authentic on LinkedIn without sounding too crass in a word?
I almost hate the word authentic because I feel like it's lost its meaning, because the other point to that is you can't really be authentic. You either are or you aren't.
Right.
And I think that's the whole point here, is that you're not trying to perform your way into authority.
Yeah, it's not a performance, right? It's who you are.
Well, and it's funny, I hosted an open office hours to my email list, and this was just a couple of weeks ago, and some guy asked me, he said, how do I become a domain expert on LinkedIn? I'm like, go be a domain expert in real life and then talk about it.
Right.
So that's authentic, right? That's real, because you're actually out doing the thing, and then you're just talking about doing the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem with so many people on LinkedIn. Some of them are really good at marketing themselves, but they're full of crap.
Yep. Yeah, I know. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like, it always, this is an old quote and I love it so much. And it's by like a very eccentric character. Everybody has a plan till they get hit in the face, by Mike Tyson. And that's exactly it. Everybody has this grand dream of how things actually are until they actually try to do it. And it's not exactly like that. And there's a lot more to it than people think. It's like the domain or running a website. Well, go stand up a website. See what you have to do to make that happen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's so how do you get people to move from, it is somewhat ingrained in folks, especially entrepreneurs, that you need to market and you need to brand, you need to stay on brand, you got to hit these points. How do you move from that kind of thinking to, hey, I need to be more myself?
Well, oftentimes people hire me because it's a mental block. And
right.
It's a whole, you need some hand holding because it's really uncomfortable.
Yes.
We're so used to having to show up in this way that we think we need to show up as.
Right.
Unboxing, that's really hard to do. And so having support is one way of doing that, of course, but really embracing the imperfect, because nobody trusts perfect anyways. I don't know if you heard this. The best Amazon review is a 4.2 stars.
Really?
Not 5. No one trusts 5. No one trusts perfect.
Yeah, because it's fake, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really just understanding, being okay with not being perfect, and knowing that, I don't know, I think people trust that so much more. It feels uncomfortable at first, but if you just keep at it.
Right.
I don't want to use that advice. I hate when people say, just post. Like, obviously you want to be putting the right type of content out there.
Correct.
But that's why I just say, look at your calendar, talk about what you've been doing, and that's really going to guide you nicely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of is that simple.
Really? I mean, it seems like kind of straightforward, but I know there's got to be like, okay, what kind of stuff makes sense for me to put out there? It can't just be anything. And how, I'll say, as a small business owner myself, how do you figure out how much time do you spend there versus other activities? Because your time is your most valuable quantity. How do you help people with that?
Yeah, most people are very busy doing everything in life, right?
Right, right.
So the opportunity to spend hours on a social media platform sounds terrible and unrealistic. But even if you're able to spend 20 minutes a day doing the right type of activity on LinkedIn,
right,
you're going to see results from that. And if you're trying to get clients, you're trying to get speaking engagements, partnerships, collaborations, you're going to spend the time. The problem is that most people aren't doing the right activity.
Right.
And so then they find themselves scrolling through their feed and not actually getting anything done from it. So if you just do the right things on here, you don't need to be spending that much time. And most of us only need to post 1 or 2 times a week.
Right.
Because you need to be top of mind for your network and your network's network.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever heard this stat. There's 1.3 billion people on LinkedIn, but just over 1% are posting any original content weekly.
Really?
Which means think about that within your network. If you're creating content 1 day a week, that means in your network, you're in that 1% that everybody else is seeing what you're posting.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I mean, they're not all seeing it, of course, but they're going to be top of mind even if you're posting that much. Like, you don't need to be posting every single day is my point. And so those other days, maybe you post 1 or 2 times a week. Those other days, who are you initiating conversations with, right? who's saying hi to you,
Right.
and nurturing those relationships from the people you met at last week's networking event in person, or that online community you're part of. Like, who are you engaging with that makes sense to you, right? We're not just having random coffee chats with, whoever.
Right.
But being strategic about where you're hanging out with and who you're initiating those conversations with, you're going to see really cool results from that.
I like that. So let me ask you, so this kind of applies maybe to my case, but maybe to a lot of other people's cases. Like, my network reaches worldwide. I've worked with people all around the world. So my post may not hit the same folks as like someone who's only from this area and has a network that's mainly in this area. What's the strategy between those two kind of situations where you have a network that's more scattered versus a network that's very tight in a locality? How do you do that?
So LinkedIn's new algorithm, it's called 360 Brew.
Right.
What it does is it reads your profile,
Mm-hmm.
It reads your content, and then it watches your behavior, and then it matches it with the right people.
Oh, okay.
So that your profile, if you're speaking to the targeted audience or to a bigger audience, and your content speaking to that targeted audience or a bigger audience, and then you're engaging with targeted or bigger, it's going to start to show it to those people as well.
Oh, cool.
But it's not just about the content, right? It's also about the conversations. And I know this is kind of a redundant statement, but the more two-way conversations you have where you comment, they comment back, you DM, they DM back.
Yeah.
That's how you get more visibility with your content as well and their feeds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's really, you just have to be, again, intentional with who it is that you're engaging with on there and who you're talking to. And then ultimately, if you stick with that, the algorithm starts to place it in front of those people.
That's really cool. So when you work with people, how do you do your business in a sense? Do you say, hey, I'm going to help you with your LinkedIn or whatever, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to design these things for you and all this kind of stuff? Or is it more like, okay, here's what you're doing, here's what you need to do different? Or is it a third way? How do you kind of work with people to do your business?
I'm sort of a coach. I'm an agency disguised as a coach almost, because I'm based as a coach, but I also do done for you work as well, because there's some things you just don't need to do, right? Like your banner on your profile, nobody needs to learn how to do that. So I help with your branding, your messaging,
right,
your content set up, and helping with like what that system looks like, because I want to streamline that process, but I want to make sure that you also can do this on your own.
Right. So
the way I work really is it's getting you all set up with it, and then I coach you on how to be on there, basically, because I can't build relationships for you. Right. So I don't post on your behalf. There's a few clients I'll post for, but special cases. But they're not using it for business development. Typically, it's more just some sort of level of thought leadership and visibility.
Right.
For the most part, if you are actually trying to get business from this, you have to be doing that, because again, I can't build those relationships for you, but I guide you on how best to do that. So you're not spending like trying to figure out navigating this platform that makes no sense at all.
Right.
There's so many pieces to it. And so I coach on that whole process. But the other part to this too is LinkedIn is just one medium to it all, because what we are trying to do is bring new people into our orbit and then nurture those relationships. The most valuable thing that I brought to my business last year was my newsletter.
Right.
It's the highest converting piece is my email list, right? And so what I'm trying to do is get people from LinkedIn onto my newsletter and then convert them from there.
That's great. And when you have this, like, LinkedIn is kind of like in a sense, sort of like a weird kind of CRM, content relationship management system. It's a little different than like a regular CRM where you really are documenting your interactions and all that kind of stuff. And all that kind of happens in like the ether of LinkedIn, but you don't really get a real good way to get into that. So how can your method kind of take advantage of what LinkedIn's doing? And like you said, how can people move to like either a newsletter or some other thing that gets some more contact with their potential clients, customers, and all that kind of stuff? How do you connect the dots there?
That's a great question. Because we, as you know, we don't own LinkedIn. Right. It's rented media for us, right? So if LinkedIn disappears tomorrow, which I was put in jail once and they still have no idea why. And I was like, oh, I have no business.
Right.
So that picked me out. So, but how are we getting people off of the platform ultimately? And there's several ways of doing that. You know, in your content, people don't like to be sold to in the content whatsoever, but there's a sort of non-salesy way of doing it by in the PS of your post, adding a call to action there, a call to engage, or even in the comments of your own post, you could say, hey, by the way, I've got this workshop coming up, or I've got this really cool newsletter about this.
Oh, cool.
Here. And so that's a pretty like strong way that I've been doing it. It's how I filled all my cohorts is honestly just through my PS and my comments. Basically, I've done a few promotional things, but otherwise it's doing that. It's hosting live things too, right? I had a workshop, office hours, trying to create spaces where people can come join you, meet you, and then you get their emails that way. And again, you nurture them in the newsletter, right? Nice. Or obviously getting calls and stuff. But the other part obviously too is just in the DMs. I'm all about permission-based selling. So I hate the pressure sales. I hate all that crap. I don't like to, we definitely don't pitch slap, you know, but there's a way to show up in the DMs when somebody expresses some level of interest. You could say, oh, by the way, I've got this really great thing.
Right.
Or lead magnet that is potentially. And right now, because of the tools we have on hand, we can create really valuable lead magnets very easily that gets people interested and intrigued into learning more about your world.
That's cool. Yeah, because I know, and probably everybody else has had this happen. It's like I have people who want to connect with me, and the minute I say yes, I get a sales message right into my message. I'm like, really? You know, that is so exactly what I wanted to do when I connected you, is get a sales message. And so, yeah, I totally get what you're saying about that. It's like, it's about connecting with quality. And sure, if you can help somebody out and it makes sense, yes, but it shouldn't be like this basically cold call kind of sales thing where, you know, the minute you connect, okay, we're going to sell you a product now. That's not what I'm on the platform for.
Exactly. That's why it's a pitch slap. Like they just go straight in for a pitch. And that doesn't feel good. And I think what happens is that people just forget that there is a human on the other side of the screen.
Right.
Would you actually do that or say that in real life with somebody? No. So why are you doing it there?
Right. And most of it seems very like AI generated. And same thing. It's like I get the similar stuff coming into my email. It's like, oh, yeah. Like for the podcast. Oh, you should have so-and-so on the podcast. We saw this episode, and you can tell it was an AI generated thing. It's like, you don't even know what the podcast is about. It's like, you know, what is this? You know, how is this working for you?
Yeah, I've got I'm sure you've experienced so much with those automated podcasting matchmaking people. I see them, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is horrible.
Oh yeah. It's, you know, and it's funny. It's like I'll send an email back, and I say, hey, and I tell everybody this, hey, if you're doing stuff in South Carolina, especially in the Lowcountry area, you're in business, a nonprofit, whatever you're doing, come on, you know, it's pro bono. Come on, I'd love to share your story. If you're outside of this area and you don't have any connection, fine. You know, you can pay. You know, if you're willing to pay a fee and come in, we'll work something out. But otherwise, this is really for this area and really to help the businesses around this area.
Which I love that you do that, by the way. This is so awesome. When I saw that in the newsletter of Checked on Startups, I was like, what a cool thing that you offer. I like booked immediately, honestly.
Well, you know, and it's like one of those things. It's like, you know, I feel that real business is about helping people. You know, one of my guests would say it's about, you know, listening to your customer and giving your customer what he wants. But, you know, I feel like, you know, helping people out. And that's the way I kind of do everything for this. And, you know, that's why I was interested in what you were doing, because you're trying to help people actually use something that we're all on, LinkedIn and other things. I'm like, okay, how is Natasha doing this? Because we all touch this thing and we all touch other platforms too. But, you know, are we even using it right? There's no... You know, you can't really go on there and say, okay, let me go to the LinkedIn help and figure out what's the best way for a business to use this. All I get is like, oh, you should get a premium subscription, right? Because that'll fix everything. I've never seen it fix anything. That's just my opinion.
I know. Well, I will say I am halfway through my book, which is basically the LinkedIn handbook.
Oh, really?
Halfway, yeah. So that'll be coming out soon.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and whenever you get your book out, come back on and we'll go through the book. That'd be awesome.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, I did. I did a book based on this podcast, believe it or not. So like the first 60 something episodes, I asked everybody at the end of their podcast, so what advice do you have for others out there, other entrepreneurs? And so I took that, it's out there on the podcast, but you have to listen through 60 plus podcasts. So I just took all that and condensed it into a new format, which was a book. And so, anything to get the information out there, I think is a great way to do it.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. So what else is going on? So you have this strategy that you do, and it's called the relationship growth method. So how's that? How do you use that? What is the thing you do with those kind of things?
So that's my method, obviously, of how to show up on LinkedIn, all the different pieces that make the whole system work really nicely, right? But specifically, I actually have launched a cohort community at the end of last year. So I just actually kicked off my 5th cohort this week.
Cool.
And that is like the Relationship Growth Method community. And it's been a really awesome way to help get the word out to more people. It is for female founders specifically. That wasn't actually my intent, but it's what's happened, and it's amazing. But we've got about 70 so women in it now, and all of them, we're all looking to increase sales and grow visibility, and that's what it does. So it's been really cool to see that come to life like that.
That's cool. And you guys, when you run your cohorts, is your cohorts like in person or are they remote? How do you do that part?
It's all virtual.
Okay.
Although I do have a few clients locally now, but because I work one-on-one as well, and I've got actually someone else I met through Chucktown Startups. He's down the street from me, funny enough, but he's a client. Yeah. But yeah, it's primarily virtually, and I love doing workshops too, of course. So again, that sometimes is in person and otherwise virtually, which is so great. But that's also part of why I was excited to connect more with people in the Lowcountry, because I'm not from here originally, as you can probably imagine, and I don't have too much of a network here now. So I'm really trying to grow the in real life side of things here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I moved here in 2021. I've had a connection here over the years, but this is the first time kind of living here, and it's a great place. A lot of interesting people, super nice. It's the land of sunshine down here in a sense, and smiles and sunshine, as they say. And it's a great place to start a business right now. It's really like a booming place, and so I think a lot of people are going to be very interested in, like, how can I use Natasha's technique here to kind of grow my business? Because you have everybody now starting everything from, a bake shop all the way to a AI shop, and everything in between.
Mm-hmm. And so few people are using LinkedIn that even if you're in an industry where you don't think you need to be on LinkedIn, even better, because you can become the go-to expert in your industry.
Right.
And so people are actually doing it. So there's just so much opportunity on there, truly.
Right. And I wanted to ask, I forgot to ask this, which is, do you have some things you could share as far as like, what are some good metrics for people to use to figure out, am I getting any kind of return whatsoever on doing what I'm doing in LinkedIn, and how can I improve what I'm doing? Sure.
That's a great question, because I try really hard to not get so caught up on the algorithm, obviously, because you can't control it, and it's doing weird things. Everyone's impressions have been tanking, all the things like that. But honestly, I don't even notice it because I don't pay attention to that. Impressions, what do they even mean? And you can't act on them, right? So metrics that do matter, that I think are important to pay attention to: profile views. Okay. So when you post, you can look at a metric and see how many people viewed your profile from that post. That means it was intriguing enough that they went to go check you out. Right. But that's also very important then, that your profile is speaking to your ideal clients, that it's showcasing your expertise and social proof, right? That it's doing all the right things. So when they get to your profile, like, ooh, I want to talk to this person, right? The profile views is a really good one. And then also, if you have premium, then you can see who's viewed your profile. Right. So then you can say hi to those people and say, hey, thanks for checking out my profile, right? Oh, so cool. Those are the signals of intent that I'm talking about. Like, create more signals like a profile view, and then acting on those signals. So those are people who view your profile as someone who's like quietly waving hello. You got to say hello back to them. Right, right. Yeah, it's like being at a social or a party where
the difference between somebody waving at you from across the room versus somebody walking up and say, hey, who are you kind of thing, you know?
Exactly. Or you've got the people who are kind of like eyeing you and you can't tell, like they're too nervous to come over. Like that's what we're doing. We call them lurkers, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
yeah.
And most people are too scared or too uncomfortable to reach out to you. They're going to be too scared to initiate that conversation because it's awkward, right? So that's why you're actually doing them a favor by saying hi. And it's funny, a client of mine, I told her, you know, what to say after somebody viewed her profile. She's like, there's no way anyone's going to respond to this. Right. Took her a few weeks, finally does it, sends it. And the person responds back with like 4 paragraphs of why they viewed her profile, all these things. And then they jumped on a call and it turned into an opportunity, right?
Wow.
And it's like powerful because people have a lot to say, but it's hard to do this because we've never done it this way. You know?
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of, you know, I would fit in this category too. A lot of shypreneurs out there, you know, that, you know, even though being a business owner and entrepreneur and all that kind of stuff, you got to get out there, you got to talk to people. It's still hard. And it is a skill you have to kind of learn. And so, yeah, you know, having techniques like that to kind of, hey, maybe it's okay if someone looks at your profile to go out there and say hi to them. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's a good reframe to think that you're actually doing them a favor. And listen, my whole system started because I was in a position, this was 10 years ago, where I was an SDR, which is a sales development representative, where I had to cold call, smile.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right? It was brutal because I'm an introvert. I used to be super shy as well. So this was like quite literally the worst position for me, but being really competitive, I needed to find a way to hit my numbers, but that didn't lead to tears every day, basically.
Right.
So also I discovered using LinkedIn as a way to connect, network, and then warm call. It turns out people are much more receptive to that. So for me, it was like a lesser of 2 evils, like cold calling, of trying to get onto LinkedIn. And so it was hard for me to do that still, but this is a really great way for the shy people, the introverts, the ones that aren't as comfortable putting themselves out there like this. Like this approach is really, it feels much better. Right.
Yeah. I totally get that. It makes sense. And like, you know, and anybody that's driven around like the Charleston area knows like traffic is a challenge now. And, you know, remote's a lot quicker than having to drive an hour to get to downtown Charleston these days. So yeah, it's a good place to start. We want to eventually get together, but it's a good place to start for sure.
Well, and actually, funny story about that. I went to my first, the Million Cups.
Yeah, Million Cups. Yeah.
I went to it 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'd started to already connect with some of the people from Checktown Startups. And so when I got there, because I was kind of nervous, I had never been before, didn't know anybody, but someone came up to me, he's like, oh, you're Natasha, you know, I was like, yeah, that's me, you know, and so it kind of breaks the ice before you even get there.
Right.
That's what I love so much about bridging the online to offline world with LinkedIn and what you're actually doing in your life. That's how you actually can deepen some of these relationships much faster too.
Yeah, that's great. And this is awesome. So I have to ask, so what advice do you have for other entrepreneurs like yourself out there in the Chucktown area?
LinkedIn specific or just in general?
In general. You can give any advice you want.
I don't know if this is like too cliche to say, but it's one of those things. Having a coach is probably the most valuable thing that I've brought to my business to a certain extent, right? Is like making sure that I'm not in my head, because it's so easy to overthink everything.
Right.
But having a coach is really, really powerful to make sure you don't do that and you kind of get on the right track, the accountability, all that sort of stuff. Like I didn't have one initially when I first got started, and now I know what it's like to have one, and I think it's so powerful. Yeah.
I agree. I've done coaching and I've been coached in the past, and I agree. Coaches are just amazing. It does change your kind of world, and it's nice to have someone that's kind of helping guide you or making you asking the right questions of you, you know?
Yeah.
So that's cool. Well, thank you so much, Natasha. That's really good. I mean, you know, it's great what you're doing, connecting people, you know, helping people, you know, leverage the LinkedIn platform. And I really appreciate that. And come back on, especially when you have your book come out. That'd be great to discuss.
I'd love to come back. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This is fun.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Lowcountry Revolutionaries. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate the fearless entrepreneurs making wave in Charleston's Chucktown Startups community. I'm Bill Ballott, and it's been an honor to share these inspiring stories with you. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a spark of Lowcountry innovation. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.